used to write, like, poetry about the eve of spring training. They used to get you really, really, not just excited, but romantic, spiritual even. And you turn on this show, and what you hear is that the Pirates currently have a payroll of $82,854,962. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins, other two teams in town that I cover, and I hope you'll check those out as well. I'll be flying to Bradenton, Florida tomorrow night. Pitchers and catchers are the morning after that, and check all of your sappiness at the door, because I can go ahead and cite that payroll figure and compare it to the final actual payroll from 2024. That was $87.3 million. So your gap here is around, what is that, 4.5? Yeah, $4.5 million from the projected opening day payroll of this year versus the final payroll of last year. The only total, of course, that counts, since it's actual money spent. So if you want to look at the 2025 roster and payroll and say, all right, there's a chance that it'll end up at around $90 million, well, then that'll wind up $10 million shy of where I was told it would be, and only about $30 million shy of where it should be as related to the other teams in the Central Division. But hey, did you hear Alika Williams made it through waivers? That's right, baby. Alika's still in the system. I'm feeling so guilty doing this because he's such a good dude. But he's a good enough dude that he actually might giggle right along with me. I don't know. That's what fans of this franchise had over the weekend. That's what they got to experience a couple days out from pitchers and catchers. Williams was removed from the roster so that there'd be space for Tommy Pham, a phenomenally unpopular free agent signing. Again, by every accounting, and I've only been around him a time or two in his career, but that's not your impact signing. That can't be your impact signing. That can't happen, even under this ownership, even under this management team, where the bar is set so low that it can't even be seen. When you have Paul Skeens, when you have Jared Jones, when you have at least a handful of other good players, most of whom were inherited, embarrassingly enough, from the previous administration, but just on the Skeens front alone, there's no way this should be taking place. There's no way this team should be going into this spring training with not a damn thing having been done since last offseason, aside from a very small trade to acquire a platoon first baseman in Spencer Horwitz, and then signing Pham for a year and $4 million. That can't be real. Listen, the people who have been protesting this team these past few months and who have organized and who have bought up those billboards, I believe there were 5 of them, bought some other advertising, including on this program, they've had it right from the beginning. If you are okay with this, or if you somehow convince yourself that being quiet about it is equivalent to boycotting, I'll show them, I'll never spend a penny of this or that or whatever, you're not having any impact in changing this. None whatsoever. Believe me, I'm not sitting here advocating that you spend either. I'm just saying that if that's it, if that's all you do, you're not affecting any change at any level of that organization. You're not changing the manager. You're not changing the general manager. And you sure as heck aren't getting Bob Nutting to sell the team. You're doing nothing. And I'm not one to tell people how to feel. So if doing nothing is your thing, then go right ahead and do nothing. But don't pretend that it's something compared to what these protest people have started, because it isn't. because they've taken action, they've gotten reaction, and there's a lot more that's coming in the works, including through political realms. I'm told there's another big thing coming on that front fairly soon. They're mad. I appreciate that. I respect that. They're doing something about that. I really appreciate that and really respect that, as I would in any context. When I'm mad about something, including when it's institutional, which is what this is, I'm going to speak up. I'm going to do something. It's not going to be on Daily Shot of Pirates, but I'll make the calls that I need to make, write the emails, and even occasionally sound off on social media. I don't keep it to myself. I don't say I'm going to boycott the city of Pittsburgh because it's got a terrible mayor. I try to do whatever my part might be to get a better mayor. I don't quit on my city the same way these individuals haven't quit on their beloved baseball franchise. What's happened to this winter, what continues to happen going into pitchers and catchers, is a low. It's a low for this management team. It's a low for this ownership. And you want to know something else? At least as I'm able to gauge it in a lifetime in Pittsburgh and a long time covering this team, this will be my 21st year, I've never seen the fan base this low. And that's saying something because, they have Skeens. Have I told you that? They have Skeens. Preeminent young player in the game. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Dina, who says, DK, I don't mean this to be a smart aleck question, but I'm being genuine here. Why on earth would any of these players want to sign an extension here? Assuming we're talking about current players that we'd actually want to see stay here for the long term. O'Neal Cruz, Paul Skeens, Jared Jones. Why on earth would they sign here long term? If you were them, would you want to? They didn't grow up here and grow up Pirates fans like most of us, so there's no sentimental attachment. Wouldn't they rather go somewhere where they've got a legitimate chance of winning, somewhere with a track record of at least competing, somewhere, anywhere, not considered to be one of the worst run franchises across any North American professional sports league? Dina, I bitterly resent your characteristic there at the end of the Pirates as being one of the worst run franchises. I don't know of any that are worse. I don't follow the NBA. Out of the four professional sports, out of the three that we have in Pittsburgh, tell me who's worse in the NFL, the NHL, or Major League Baseball. No, really, Dina, I'm not letting you off the hook here. Who's worse? Who's worse? You can say, the White Sox are worse because they just had the season from hell. But when you're making a statement like that, you almost can't be talking about something that's a year or 5 years or 10 years. The Pirates are going on 40. And yeah, there were two blips, early 90s and then the mid 2010s. And that's it. Out of 40 years, there's nobody worse than that. Much as we all love to pick on the Browns have been somewhat competitive at various junctures in recent years within the Steelers division. As much as I love to pick on the Maple Leafs, who haven't won a Stanley Cup or even been in the Stanley Cup final since 1967, even the Leafs have been competitive over the past decade. Except, when they get to playoffs, but whatever. They're at least getting to playoffs. I don't know that there's one worse. I know this isn't what you asked, but you can tell it just really kind of got me here, and I am playing with you. I'm not coming at you hard here or anything. Why would those players sign? This is what you actually asked. Why would those players sign here long term? The answer is money. I always give the boring answer when this sort of thing comes up. If you're going to pay them, they're going to stay. It's really never all that complicated in any professional sport for any franchise, unless your franchise is doing stuff that makes the players or their families or whatever uncomfortable, or you happen to live in a city that's just really awful. Other than that, you're going to get the player that you want if you pay the appropriate money. And I think that could even be true of Skeens. I don't think you're going to see Skeens look around and say, boy, they don't appear to be very competitive. If they come at Skeens with an offer, being very, very creative here, obviously, of who knows what, and he says, yes, it'll be because the money was right. You know, if they come at Cruz, if they come at Jones, if they come at any of these guys, they'll sign them. Tell me who the Pirates have tried to sign over the past, 15, 20 years that they weren't successful in keeping. There's one example, and that's Garrett Cole. And that's because he's a Scott Boras guy, and Boras advises all of his clients unconditionally to try free agency. It's just something that he believes in, and he tries to get his players to believe in it. Cole believed in it. The Pirates knew they weren't going to get an extension, and off he went to Houston in a trade. Otherwise, and this is, by the way, countering a great false narrative that happens to exist about the Pirates. Kevin knows there's enough to legitimately criticize them over. They've kept their people. So it hasn't been an issue. It just hasn't. You know, why would they sign? Because they'd get money. I appreciate the question. I always appreciate opportunities to take shots at the Browns and the Maple Leafs. And we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.